Hey everybody, Giselle Grenier here from artplace.ca. So I'm going to do a quick little demonstration on creating a Coptic stitch mini journal. It's the size of, the painting surface is the size of an ATC. Now for our 365 Art a Day project, I mean you can do this for anything, but I was inspired by this when I was going through some of my old stash of art stuff and I found a bunch of ATCs. And when I kind of looked and said, boy, now that my eyes have been fixed up, new glasses and everything, I can do a lot more smaller pieces. And I had to stop for a while because I couldn't see. So I thought, this would be so cool, but 365 ATCs, that's a lot for storage, even for me. I thought, I would really like a place where I can keep this whole project documented in something that's a little bit more orderly, so I decided I was going to do it in a journal this size. So this is an ATC sized journal, perfect size. Okay, and I mean, instead of gluing them in, I mean you can fasten them in with putting a little band here, and you can put them inside that way, and they'll be quite big. I decided to make it into a little journal. Now I will admit that this is a little bit clunky, and it's clunky because the paper's so thick. This paper is at least 140 pound, and in some of the other little, because I had to make about 10 of them, so I had extra because there's 2 months per journal, and some of them have 300-pound paper. So they're quite thick, but they do display quite nicely, like a little star. So that's why I've got the elastic just to hold it. So you could make them a little bit thinner, or just use one piece of paper as your signature instead of using two. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. Now, Coptic stitching does take a long time, and the beauty about this stitch is that you want your stitch exposed. Okay, so you don't have a wraparound cover, it's where you want your stitch exposed. I do have videos on my YouTube channel and on my blog to how to do this already, but I just want to do a quick, just something very quick just to show you. I'm not going to do the complete journal. I do have one where I'm going to show you how to finish it off. So all I did was take all my scraps of watercolor paper, mixed media paper, all the stuff left over, and I basically cut it into 3.5 by 5, scored it down the middle. Okay, and I measured everything out, and then it was just like an assembly line. I scored it, folded it, burnished it. So scored it, folded it, burnished it. And again, you can go to my channel to see all the details on that. And with these, because the papers are all different, they're all, these ones are all 140 pounds. They are quite thick. The smaller the signature, the stiffer it is. So I'm only going to put 2. But if it's really thick and it's bothering you about it flipping open, just use 1. Okay, you're just going to stitch one piece. Okay, but I'm going to nestle them into 2s. And then I measured, I made a little template, piece of paper, and measured, I measured 1/2 inch, and then I believed 1/2 inch from the edge, another 1/2 inch, and then whatever the distance was between here, within the middle. Marked it with a pencil, took my awl, punched all the holes. It was quite tedious. There was a lot of, you're thinking you're punching 300, no, not 365. You're punching, well, a lot. For your thread, you're going to count the number of signatures you have. So I'm going to have 2 signatures, 2 folios per signature. I'm going to have a total of 8 signatures if I package everything up to 2s. Oh, and this one I have to make sure that I actually do it this way, because I want, this one I folded wrong. I want it this way because I want the arches embossing to show. So it'll be that way. So I have 8 signatures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the thread to measure, and you're going to measure it. And this is just actual bookbinding thread. I prefer using the waxed linen thread from Lee Valley. So 1 piece of thread for each signature. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and I like adding a little bit of extra. Okay, cut that off. And because this is so thin and it's not waxed, you want to run it through some wax. And if you don't have bookbinding wax, just run it through a candle. Be careful how you hold the thread though, because it does get hot when you run it through. You don't want to cut yourself. Okay. And like I said, you can use candle. Beeswax is nice to use as well. I'm not a professional bookbinder. I just love to make my own journals. I have such a hard time using a manufactured journal. I prefer making my own. So some of the techniques that I may show you, if you're a professional, well, if you're a professional bookbinder, you're probably not watching this video, but I may do something that's a little bit more unorthodox in my methods. Like trying to thread a needle that's just, the thread's not cut right. Okay, so see, before I had my eyes fixed, I couldn't do this. So you're just going to run it down this way. I mean, you can double it all the way down. You don't need to, because the books are small. And then at the end, I'm going to make a loop. I don't want to make the knot all the way. I'm just going to make it like that, because it reduces the risk of the whole piece going through the book. So make sure that when you do all your punching, that if you punched all your papers this way, make sure that you always keep them the same direction. So you're going to pick them up this way, and you're going to bind them this way. You're not going to flip them over. Okay, it makes a big difference because all your holes are aligned. So I'm going to take the first two. The first 2 rows of stitches are a little bit different when you're doing Coptic stitching. I can pick this up. And you will also notice that when you're using long threads that your thread tangles up. Okay, so what you want to do, it doesn't matter what side you start. I'm going to start from this side. You're going to thread your book through the outside. Oh, and if you've got binder's clips, that also will help. It's a little bit awkward. I don't do it for the first stitch, first row, but it might help you. Okay, so put it in. If your hole gets a little bit off, a little bit kind of, you can shimmy up your paper to get the hole back in there. Okay, and that noise that you hear, I don't know if you can hear it, that's Mia chewing her deer antler. So it goes through, and you're going to go all the way across. The first 2 signatures are done completely different than the rest. This takes a bit of time. This is the most important because this is how you start it. Everything else after that is all the same. Okay, so in, all the way across, and out. Get your next set. Okay, you're going to fold it. Okay, so you've got started, out. And then you're going to put the next one on top. Like so. Just going to line it up. Okay, make sure the holes line up. Because the stitch is exposed, you have to be extra careful to make sure everything lines up. Now I'm going to go through the top signature, the hole above. I'm just putting my thumb there just to help the thread not get tangled. Okay. Then you're going to go to the next hole beside. I like using the curved needles for this. But I want to show you because I know everybody has the curved needles. Okay. And you're just going to hold, sorry, just the bottom. You have to leave it exposed. Sorry, I jumped ahead a bit. So it came out. Then you're going to go into the bottom one, the hole directly below it. And it is cumbersome just for these 2. It's cumbersome. You could, if you wanted to, put clips on here. That might help you. Okay. Thread in, out, into the signature on top, go over through this hole. You're going to go back into the bottom signature, and because there's that long string across, we're going to do, and again, this is just for this stitch. So now the thread is here. We're going to take our needle and we're going to put it in front. So we're wrapping the thread around this long piece. Okay. This is really the part that's a little bit cumbersome to do. And things do get tangled up. You just have to be patient. Okay. So it's wrapped around now. Okay, and you want to go back up the top. Essentially what's happening is that this stitch is going to be doubled up. Just making it nice and strong. Okay, you're going to go into, so this is the bottom, this is the top. So now you're going into the next hole. Okay, you're going to go into the bottom. You're going to wrap around the thread, go back through the same hole. Okay, and then go back to the top. Go to the next hole. Okay, into the bottom. Nice and tight. Go around the thread, and then go back through the same hole. When you go back through the same hole, make sure you're going through the hole and you're not splitting the thread in half. Okay, go back up to the top hole. Go over. I'm going to just punch that hole because I can't see it. There we go. This paper is so stiff. And now what you're going to do is you're going to, just to keep it from being clunky, so the first stitch that you went through, so I just pulled it. That's why I did that. I tied it this way. Now all you're going to do is tie it into a knot. Excuse me. And I tie the knot, just a regular square knot. I tie it 3 times. And then when the whole thing is done, then you can just put a little dab of blue. Don't cut everything, just cut the tail. Okay. Now this is where it gets a little bit easier. So we have our bottom, we have our top. Make sure you have the bottom set. Yep, that's our bottom. Okay. Then you're going to take your next signature. That's a piece of 300-pound paper, this one here. Man, is that ever thick. I'm going to put that like this. You're going to put it on top. Okay. Now we can actually fasten everything together like this. This is where it gets easy. From here on in, the stitch is the same. So you're going to go into the top. Okay. You're going to go over one. Now, this is where the curved needles come in handy. That stitch that's here, you're going to go through that stitch. See, I can't bend my needle. There, you gotta do it this way. And when I show you the other booklet that I've started already, you're gonna see how beneficial it is to have a curved needle. So you just went underneath the stitch that's right here and go back to the top, the hole that you just came out of. And just make that nice and snug. And go to the next hole. Okay. The stitch that's here, you're going to go through that underneath. I hate using these needles. When I was first learning, I would go straight through the book, then come around because the needle wouldn't bend. But you'll see how easy it is with the bent. And the bent, they're just quilting needles, and they're so inexpensive. Then back through the same hole. Go to the next hole. Mia sure is enjoying that bone. Okay. Through. This one's giving me a hard time because it's so tight. Okay. And through the same hole. Now I'm going a little bit fast here because I have the video already on my blog that shows this in great detail. Through the next hole. Okay, nice and snug. Get your next sets of signatures. I'm going to leave this one with the logo embossing at the end. Okay, take the clip out, put it on top. Snug everything together. Make sure all the holes line up. Okay. Clamp it. Then you're ready to move on. Now this one here, I can't really see the holes, so I'm just going to take my needle and just kind of punch them just to go through them again, because as I punched everything a few days ago, and as you handle it, sometimes the fibers just kind of cover everything up. So in the last hole that you're here, what you want to do, because there's nothing here to go through, you're going to go into the hole, the stitch below. So now you're at the bottom. Okay, and then you're going to make a knot. And through the loop. Oh, and it got tangled up. Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? If it gets tangled up, what you could do is just cut it and back up a little bit and tie some more string. I'm gonna what? Yeah, I can't get out of this. This has no way. It is so tight. So let's show you. Like I said, I don't edit out my mistakes, so I'm going to show you exactly how to fix this. So we're going to take our book out, because it will happen. You run out of thread. So you're going to take your needle, and you just want to back up a little bit, and we're just going to. You're basically undoing the last few stitches. Okay, you want to back it up to the end. Okay, and you can actually do it right from here. You want to make your knot right there, so the knot doesn't have to go through the hole. So I'm going to, it is much easier though if you just do it at the end. Actually, let me do that, because that's the proper way of doing it. The way I was doing it was the lazy way of doing it. Okay, all you're going to do is basically just tie the knot together. The way we did when we attached the signatures together. So you're just going to make a knot. hate this thread. Nice and tight. Okay. And you want to put a little bit of glue on there as well. Let's try that again. There we go. So it's already threaded up. Okay. Then I'm going to take the two tails, and you just basically you're just tying the knot so nothing comes apart. But again, like add a little dab of glue. I've had it where I've done the bookbinding and chaos, and then just get rid of the tails. Chaos will actually find me. I've closed the door when I'm doing bookbinding. She always knows it, and then she comes and bugs me. Let's go back, and then you're going to go into that signature there, and you just continue on. Let's clamp everything together. In the one that I have on my blog, I don't think I showed how to fix mistakes. I don't know if I did any. And right now, and clean off your table. I have got so much stuff on my table. Oh, that's your thing. Okay, so you saw me with the straight needle, right? Let me show you with a curved needle. It is so much better. Okay. So I went through around. Now we have to go underneath. So remember the straight needle we had trouble? Look at the curved needle. If I can hold it. You just do this. That's it. There's no fussing. And back through the top. Go to the next hole. Through the stitch below. I'm on a roll today. Holy moly. There we go. And back through. Next hole. The longer your thread, the higher the risk that you're going to get knots. So go nice and slow. I am going very fast right now. And through the hole again. Doing these books, I did a whole bunch at the same time. My hands were sore. Were very sore. Okay, so now I'm going through the last hole. I'm going to do one more signature, then I'll show you how to finish it off. Then we're going to go to get our next one. So on top, I'm going to clamp it together. Make sure everything lines up nice and snug. And we're just going to go into the stitch below, because there's no stitch here. You know how we're wrapping ourselves around the stitch? So we're going to go in the very bottom here. We're going to wrap it around. And instead of going into the top, we're going to go through that loop. We're making a knot at the end. There we go. That's better. And now we're going to go into the top. I like making that knot at the end because it just makes it a little bit stronger. And over, through. Okay. And it looks like a daisy chain once. For the small books, the thread, it's not as noticeable. But if you use like the nice chunky thread, the strokes are very visible. And the needle I use this needle all the time. This is much smaller. And anytime you're doing bookbinding, if your hand cramps up, you need to stop. Okay, through and back. So you're going to do this until all your signatures have been sewed on. And once I'm done this one, I'm going to show you the next one, which is ready to be, like I'm going to finish it off. Which is so easy. Once you get started doing this, it's very fast. And you go into the last hole. I can actually show it to you on this one. So if we wanted to finish this, all you're going to do is go through the last loop, like before, and you're going to go through the hole and you're just going to knot it. Okay? And then you're going to go through the top one and you knot it again. And I like to make 3 knots, so I'm going to go through it again. And make another knot. And then you cut it off and there's your book that's all bound. When I cut it off, I will put a little bit of glue on here. So this one here is also, this is with the larger needle, which is a little bit easier to manage. And this one, there we go, it's this way. Okay, so we're just going same direction as the last one. Okay, through. This needle is so much easier to work with. It's a little bit bigger. Then back through again. And then you're in the last hole. I'm going to repunch it from here. The awl didn't quite go through the paper, so thick. There we go. Through the last hole. And you would put the next signature on top and continue. If you were done, you're just going to go through here. And instead of going back to the hole, you're just going to go back to the loop, which is going to make a knot. Then you're going to go back to the loop again. Go through that little loop, which is going to make a knot. Okay, you can do it again. So that, and then cut it off, and you can add a little dab of glue, and that's it. So this is your Coptic journal that doesn't have any covers. If you want to add hard covers to it, again, go to my blog because I show you. You usually attach the covers at the beginning, but I believe in my blog, somewhere on there, and I think on my YouTube channel, I show how to add covers after the fact. Okay. So that's it. Again, I went pretty fast, showed some mistakes, but if you're interested in the Coptic stitch, please go to my blog or my YouTube channel, and I've got very detailed videos there on how to do that. Okay, because there's a variety of different ways, and you can also Google or YouTube search Coptic stitch binding. There's people that have these contraptions that line things up and everything. Like for the holes, instead of measuring each signature, you stack all your signatures, one on top of each other, and then you can take a ruler or something like this, and you line it up and take your pencil. So you only need to mark your first one, and you draw a line. Then go to the next one and draw a line. And what you're doing is that you're lining up square to the table, make your line, and now you know where to punch all your holes. Okay, so you don't have to measure every single one. All right, just a little trick there. All right, so that's it for that. So again, visit my blog for the more detailed video, but this is a great way to create little ATC sized paintings or art forms, drawings, whatever, and just keep it into a journal that's easy to manage. So I'll have one of these journals for every 2 months. What I may do is, and I probably will do this, is I'll do one little painting on here, and then I'll also do one in a little bit of a larger format. Okay, and just to check with both sizes, because I like to alternate, do the same design using different brushes, different paints, just to see how it turns out. All right, so I hope you were able to pull some ideas from this, and I will see you at our 365 Art of Date project group, and let's get painting or drawing or sketching or collaging, whatever. Let's just make some art. See you later.